Action, comedy, and unforgettable chemistry, that's what Rush Hour offers. But time spares no one, not even Hollywood stars. 25 years later, some have reached incredible heights. Others met with tragedy, and some simply disappeared from view. You won't believe how much they've changed. See for yourself. Chris Tucker as Detective James Carter. Loud, fast-talking, irresistible. Detective Carter in Rush Hour is the embodiment of the real Chris Tucker. Charming, funny, and unpredictable. In 1998, at just 27 years old, Tucker went from being the beloved star of Friday 1995 to one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors. By the time Rush Hour 2 was released, he was earning $20 million per film, a sum usually reserved for Tom Cruise. But fame can be cruel. Tucker's luxurious lifestyle couldn't keep up with the checks. Private jets, mansions, luxury cars, he blew it all. In the late 2000s, the IRS issued him a tax bill of $14 million. His fall was brutal. His homes were repossessed, and he was swept into the headlines like another Hollywood star who couldn't make it. The pressure to be funny everywhere he went didn't help either. Tucker admits he felt trapped, unable to live up to people's expectations of a non-stop comedy act. At the height of his fame, he retreated from Hollywood, turning to his Christian faith, stand-up comedy, and quieter stages where the spotlight wasn't as strong. He tried to rebuild his career with small but acclaimed roles, such as in Silver Linings Playbook, 2012. However, Chris Tucker, who once made history as the highest-paid comedian in the film industry, never regained his former glory. Chris Tucker played Detective James Carter in Rush Hour, 1998, at only 27 years old. He is now 54 years old, still doing stand-up comedy, living a simpler life, and has an estimated net worth of $5 million. Tom Wilkinson as Thomas Griffin and Juntao. Remember that cool villain from Rush Hour, the charming diplomat who turns out to be the ruthless Juntao? It's Tom Wilkinson. But behind his soft voice and brilliant acting, Wilkinson's career was marked by difficulties far deeper than the roles he played. He wasn't born into luxury. Growing up in post-war England with little money, he worked his way up the acting ladder on his own. The stage was his escape, but the pressure to succeed never wavered. For years, he played small, uncredited roles, watching his peers rise to fame. It wasn't until 1997, for his role in The Full Monty, that his talent was recognized with a BAFTA. Success, however, didn't erase the pain. His marriage to actress Diana Hardcastle was a happy one, but they both experienced disappointments, the loss of a child to miscarriage, and other family tragedies that almost brought him to the brink of quitting acting. Even after starring in films like In the Bedroom and Michael Clayton, which earned him Oscar nominations, Wilkinson struggled with depression behind the scenes. He poured his heart and soul into his work, playing Benjamin Franklin in John Adams, Carmine Falcone in Batman Begins, and countless other roles that demonstrated his versatility. However, the intense workload took a toll on his health. Years of smoking, stress, and forcing himself into long takes took their toll on his body. Tom Wilkinson played Thomas Griffin, alias Juntao, in Rush Hour in 1998. At the age of 50, he died in 2023 at the age of 75 of a heart attack, leaving behind an illustrious career, a tragedy, and an estimated net worth of $12 million. Jackie Chan plays Inspector Lee. You think success comes easy when the world calls you a legend? For Jackie Chan, it was the opposite. When Rush Hour made him a global star in 1998, he was 44 years old and had more broken bones than most retired stuntmen. Hollywood saw smiles, acrobatics, and grace, but not sleepless nights of pain. His career in Asia was already stellar, with films like Drunken Master and Police Story catapulting him to fame. However, breaking into the American market proved difficult. Early films like The Protector flopped, leaving him embarrassed and doubtful that the West would ever accept his style. It wasn't until Rumble in the Bronx opened the door, and then Rush Hour opened the door, that Jackie truly conquered Hollywood. But he paid a high price. In 1986, while filming Armor of God, and he fell out of a tree and fractured his skull so severely that he almost died. In 2002, while filming the movie The Medallion, an unfortunate stunt resulted in a broken ankle and a spinal injury. "Every part of my body was damaged," he once said. The on-screen laughter hit a man paying the price for his body. Even success couldn't calm the storm. Scandal upon scandal. His confession to adultery in 1999 nearly destroyed his family. Years later, his son JC's arrest for drug trafficking left him ashamed as a father. Sean confessed that he immersed himself in work to escape personal failures, and those choices haunted him. Jack Chan played Inspector Lee in Rush Hour 1998 at the age of 44. Today, at 71 years old, he remains actively involved in acting and charity work. His net worth is estimated at approximately $400 million. Philip Baker Hall as Captain William D.L. Have you ever noticed that some actors appear in every movie but never receive the credit they deserve? That's Philip Baker Hall. He was almost 70 when he played Captain D.L. in Rush Hour and had been fighting for decades for respect in Hollywood. Hall's collaborations with Paul Thomas Anderson, Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia finally brought him critical acclaim. But by then, he was a seasoned actor, still struggling to break free from supporting roles. The film industry often overlooked his talents, even after memorable roles in The Truman Show and The Insider. His career was long, but so was the pain that accompanied it. Years of smoking led to emphysema in his old age. Friends say Hall's final years were filled with illness, loneliness, and grief over outliving many of his peers, even his first marriage. Despite this, Hall never stopped working. He starred in Zodiac, Argo, and even comedies like Bruce Almighty, battling his declining health just to stay on set. Acting was more than just a job for him. It was survival, a way to combat the silence of his private life. Philip Baker Hall played Captain William D.L. in Rush Hour in 1998 at the age of 67. He died in 2022 at the age of 90 of emphysema, leaving behind a net worth of approximately $1.5 million and a legacy as one of Hollywood's most respected, yet underrated, actors. Rosalind Sanchez by Isabella Molina. You might think that beauty guarantees success in Hollywood, but for Rosalind Sanchez, it's practically a curse. When she played Isabella Molina in Rush Hour 2, audiences saw only her brilliance. They failed to see the Puerto Rican actress's ongoing struggle against prejudice. After Cruise Ship and then The Game Plan, Sanchez realized the industry had already decided what roles she should play. Glamorous supporting roles, rarely leading roles. Even The Sly Maids, her biggest hit, was criticized for perpetuating stereotypes, and the pressure was on her. Her body also turned against her. Years of battling endometriosis and ovarian cysts left her in pain and dashed her hopes of natural conception. In vitro fertilization, miscarriages, and invasive surgeries became a part of her life, all while she was expected to smile on the red carpet. Her first marriage fell apart in 2001, and subsequent heartache compounded her professional disappointment. Then, with Eric Winter, she underwent countless fertility treatments before finally giving birth to 2 children. She spoke openly about this struggle, but those years were marked by silence, regret, and the pressure to continue working as if nothing had happened. Rosalind Sanchez played Isabella Molina in Rush Hour 2, 2001, at the age of 28. She will be 52 in 2025, continues to act and produce films, lives in Los Angeles, and has an estimated net worth of $14 million. Tony Leung-Chiu-wai as Sang. Remember Sang, the ruthless assassin from Rush Hour who barely spoke? It was Tony Leung's breakthrough film, but the truth is, his path in Hollywood wasn't easy. Born in New York City in 1970, Tony Leung often faced similar challenges as other Asian American actors. Hollywood rarely offered roles beyond henchmen, tech experts, or villains. Even when he impressed in films like A, I, and X-Men: The Last Stand, he knew those roles were limited by the industry's imagination, not his talent. The frustration took a toll on his mental health. Privately, he admitted that the constant ticking off of checkboxes and the lack of opportunities plunged him into long periods of self-doubt. Unlike many of his peers, he remained unmarried for many years, believing he couldn't balance family life with the instability of acting. Still, Leung found a way to shine. His role as Miles Strom on Lost earned him a global following, and he later found his footing on HBO as ruthless banker Eric Tao, a role that finally helped him break free from the mold. These successes proved he was capable of more, but they couldn't erase years of struggle. Ken Leung played Sang in the film Rush Hour, 1998, at the age of 28. Currently 55, he lives in New York City, makes independent films, and mentors young actors. His net worth is approximately $2 million. Max von Sydow as Vang Reynard. Not every legendary career is without pain. Max von Sydow, who played Reynard in Rush Hour 3, is one of cinema's greatest masters. However, his life behind the camera was filled with loneliness and loss that no amount of awards could compensate. He began his career in Sweden with Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, which became an instant icon. However, it was his entry into Hollywood that began a struggle. Even after The Exorcist and Minority Report, he was often cast in villainous or cold-hearted roles. The frustration of being trapped in a pattern haunted him for decades. The longer he worked, the more friends he lost. Ingmar Bergman, his closest collaborator, died, leaving von Sydow alone. He admitted that in his later years he felt lonely, living quietly in France, away from the spotlight that had once made him famous. Despite his declining health, he continued to work hard. At almost 80, he starred in Game of Thrones as the Three-Eyed Raven and was nominated for an Emmy. But behind this acclaim was a man struggling with emphysema and a sadness at the outliving of many of his peers. Max von Sydow played Vang Reynard in Rush Hour 3, 2007, at the age of 78. He died in 2020 at the age of 90 in France, leaving behind an estimated fortune of $16 million and a legacy that was both colorful and bitter. Elizabeth Pena as Detective Tanya Johnson. Elizabeth Pena has a fire inside her that can light up any screen. In Rush Hour, she gave a brilliant performance as Detective Tanya Johnson, opposite Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. But she faces a much tougher battle off-screen, in an industry that rarely gives Latina women the respect and roles they deserve. Her breakthrough in La Bamba showed she could bring emotion and power to a story, yet Hollywood often tries to force her into superficial, stereotypical roles. Pena isn't one to sit idly by. She persevered, forged her own path, and even became one of the first Latinas to be a member of the Directors Guild of America. It was a bold move, but it also involved constant rejection and hard work. The weight of it all took its toll. By the time she turned 40, the frustration and pain of being pigeonholed consumed her completely. Alcohol became an escape, a way to quell the frustration, even as it silently destroyed her health. The industry she had dedicated her life to never truly embraced her the way it should have. Still, Elizabeth didn't give up. She brought warmth and charisma to The Incredibles as the voice of Mirage, and she found regular television roles that allowed her to shine. But deep down, she felt exhausted. The constant struggle to be taken seriously drained her spirit, and her body paid the price. Elizabeth Pena played Detective Tanya Johnson in Rush Hour 1998 at the age of 39. She died in 2014 at the age of 55 from complications of alcoholism, leaving behind a net worth of approximately $2 million and a legacy as a pioneer in the fight for Latino representation. But the pain of that struggle stayed with her for the rest of her life. Seema as Consul Han Shan. Have you ever noticed that some actors never get the roles they deserve? This has been Seema's reality for decades. When he appeared in Rush Hour as Consul Han, the powerful diplomat and father at the center of the story, Hollywood still perceived him as an Asian, not as a leading man with depth, impact, and years of acting experience. In the 1997, breaking into the mainstream was like constantly hitting a brick wall. No matter how polished his acting, casting directors kept casting him in the same repetitive roles. Gangsters, nameless villains, or silent sidekicks with little or no voice. Even after his success in The Quiet American and the rave reviews for Arrival, the industry's message seemed constant. He could act, but never lead. This cycle of rejection wore him down. Seema admits he became depressed in his 40s, wondering if a lifetime of acting was worthwhile. It's not about the pay, he's doing his job, but the lack of recognition, the feeling of being treated as second-rate, has robbed him of the dignity every artist craves. There are glimmers of hope. A recurring role on the series 24 Hours brought him stability and respect, and Denis Villeneuve's Arrival proved he could confidently star in a major Hollywood production. These moments reminded him that he still had something to offer, even if the film industry often refused to acknowledge it. But, as he says, the wounds of being forgotten never fully heal. Seema played Consul Han Shanlong in Rush Hour 1998 at the age of 36. In 2025, he is 63, living quietly in California, helping young Asian actors get the opportunities he never had, and has an estimated net worth of $3 million. Chris Penn as Clive Codd. You might not remember Clive Codd from Rush Hour, even if it was just a supporting role, but Chris Penn, the character's creator, carried his Hollywood name with him wherever he went. As Sean Penn's younger brother, Chris has always been talented and driven, but always kept in the background. His career highlights showcase his shining moments. Reservoir Dogs, 1992, cemented his status as a powerful character actor who can capture hearts effortlessly. But behind the scenes, Penn struggled with demons more than any other role. Drugs and alcohol were his escape. Arrested for drunk driving in 1997, he sank deeper into addiction, mixing cocaine with prescription drugs. His weight ballooned to over 136 kilograms, which caused serious heart problems. Hollywood recognized his talent, but also noticed the chaos. Leading roles never came, only minor ones, and even those were hard to come by. In January 2006, at the age of 40, Chris Penn was found dead in his home. A preliminary police report showed he had an enlarged heart, a condition exacerbated by years of drug abuse. He still had cocaine and other drugs in his system. For the man who shared the screen with Quentin Tarantino, his end was peaceful. Chris Penn played Clive Codd in Rush Hour, 1998, at just 33 years old. He died in 2006 at the age of 40, leaving behind a net worth of approximately $1 million and a legacy that was remembered as the gift of tragically wasted talent.